Last week we talked about when to make the sign of the cross. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the how to make the sign of the cross. Now, the reason I wanted to do this video is because I have noticed that some people don't necessarily know or understand that there are differences in terms of making the sign of the cross. Now, although in Protestantism there really isn't the use of the sign of the cross so much, there certainly is the sign of the cross in our Orthodox faith and then in the Catholic faith. So you'll definitely see those two making the sign of the cross. But some people don't necessarily know that there are different ways to make the sign of the cross. So I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about that today. So what we'll start off with is the really simple stuff. The simple stuff is that both the Orthodox and the Catholic Church have the same motion, meaning that we start at the head, we go to the heart, and then we go to the shoulders. So that motion is the same regardless of whether you're Orthodox or Catholic. What is different, though, is the making of the cross itself with your hand. And so what I want to do is kind of take you step by step through that process. So how do we do it in the Orthodox Church? So what we do is we take our two fingers and the thumb and we bring them together. Now, what does that symbolize? Well, number one, what it symbolizes is the three fingers is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Each one of them a person of the Godhead. Brought together, they are one because we believe in one God. So what we have is we have one God in three persons. So that's what those three fingers represent. You'll also notice that the remaining two fingers are bent down into the palm of the hand. And what do those two mean? That Christ has both a divine nature and a human nature. So what we have in totality then is the three fingers coming together to signify the one Godhead in three persons, and then the other two fingers representing the who of Christ, that he is fully human and fully divine. So the next step now is to explain the motion of making the sign of the cross. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand and we're going to start at the head. The head invokes the fact that we contemplate God, that we consider who God is. Now, God is not a mental exercise for us. It's not like we're sitting around thinking about who he is and explaining him, but it is the fact that we can know something about God. So that represents us now putting our hand on our head. But we know as Orthodox that God is placed in the heart of each one of us, and so now we bring our hand down around the area of our heart and our stomach. Now, not the stomach because we're hungry, or we could say that we're hungry for God, but I'm going to leave that out. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to take it to our shoulders. So we're going to move from the right, then to the left. And this signifies now, in some cases, the power that God gives us so that we can overcome the struggles that we have in life. To know that it is with God that our power comes from as human beings. Now, at the end, what you'll see some people do is that they will make the sign of the cross, and as the final one, they'll put their hand over their heart. There is no requirement within the Orthodox Church to do that, but some people are compelled or they're moved how to place their hand over their heart as a finishing act. But there really is no requirement to do that. If you do it, it's fine, and if you don't do it, it's fine too. But as I said in the first video, you want to do it as a deliberate and respectable act of who God is. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, that is one God in three persons with Christ as fully divine and fully human. Once we have completed this action of making the sign of the cross, it is the tradition within the Orthodox Church that we make that action 3 times. Why do we make that action 3 times? Because as we hear during the Divine Liturgy in the cherubic hymn, as we hear in some of the Thersayon services of like funerals or other smaller services, we understand who God is. It is holy God, holy mighty, holy, immortal. And so we recognize then those three factors of God. He is God, He is mighty, He is immortal. So does body posture play a role in making the sign of the cross? Well, you'll see some people at the end of making the sign of the cross, they'll make a small bow. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with this either, because this is now a sign of respect before God. Because those of us who worship the one God will always be reverent and kneel before Him.
Penitent man is humble, kneels before God.
So the act of having a small bow that comes immediately following the making of the sign of the cross 3 times is absolutely acceptable. It doesn't need to be there, but it is a nice closure to the fact that this is the one God that we worship. So you've probably noticed that the making of the sign of the cross for the Orthodox is different from typically how the Catholic Church does. Now, in the Roman Catholic Church, you'll see that they will make the sign of the cross with an open hand. Same motions, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but they will make it with an open hand. In the Byzantine Rite Catholic Church, they will make their cross the same way that we do in the Orthodox Church, because again, Byzantine Catholic is, or was, I should say, an Orthodox Church that now commemorates the Pope. So everything that the Byzantine Catholic Church does is equal to the Orthodox Church in terms of tradition and style, to include the making of the sign of the cross.